Hello again, all you lovely people out there on the internet. It's me, that gaming nerd John, and we're continuing our journey through 13 Sentinels Aegis RIm. We've been making pretty good progress here through the second area of the destruction sequences. The next two waves are going to be leading up to the finale of this particular set of missions, and they're going to be, again, focusing on those modified units that we've seen so far, with those upgraded units that have the better armor, the better weapons, all those new enhanced abilities to kind of push the player to be focusing on enhancing their Sentinel pilots and making the Sentinels stronger as well. So it's that feedback loop to make sure that the player isn't just kind of coasting through on, say, I don't know, a casual difficulty level. But regardless, let's just dive right in and see what's happening. Alright, so this particular wave is going to be focusing on a lot of those twin tail type enemies, so you're going to have enhanced twin tail, enhanced long range units. The bonus objectives, Karabe and Yakushiji, classic couple, and I actually paid attention. Along with, you know, not letting the enemy get to the terminal. Not terribly difficult. So let's see what happens.
Hijiyama-kun, we have a problem.
What's wrong, Okino?
I just finished an analysis of the decode's most recent changes. It looks like they've really souped up their missile weaponry.
More improvements. I suppose that's proof the Sentinels have them rattled, at least.
That's not all. We've got ground-piercing missiles on the field now. Those units are probably gunning for the terminals. You'll need Sentinels who can work on anti-air defense. If you can't shoot them down, this'll get ugly.
If it comes down to it, I can be the decoy. Flying bombs aren't enough to bring me down.
Alright, so like they were just mentioning, this is going to have a lot of missile-based enemy units, a lot of the kaiju that fire missiles. You can take a couple of different approaches to it. One of them, you can just utilize kind of the anti-air abilities for things like the EMP abilities to just destroy them. You can rely on things like shield matrix to take those hits. You can simply blow them up. So things like multi-lock missile, any kind of weapon that also hits enemies in the air will destroy missiles. Conversely, you could also kill the enemy before they can fire missiles, and that's kind of the approach I take. But that might not be necessarily tenable on harder difficulty levels, so it's good to have an understanding of like what those enemies are going to be doing, and having your Sentinel pilots prepared with the right loadouts beforehand. Sentry gun still gonna do some work here. Annoyingly, also bringing in Apsos units, which is always a favorite of mine. Yeah, here I'm struggling with Sekigahara and just being like, okay, so I really hate Apsos units, but there's flying units and there's all sorts of jerks. Ooh, really? Am I really gonna... Oh my. I think I just kicked that drill fly into the next sentry, which I don't really understand why I did that. I'm pretty sure I was hoping to get the Apsos and I just messed that up. So, yeah. I was gonna say probably super large missile just to handle that wave and kind of fire and forget. Yeah, they're toast. Basically like an Aegis activation on its own. So now, probably shooting to get Sekigahara set up for a pretty good EMP attractor once that wave comes in. Getting, yeah, Fuyusaka a little bit closer so that she has range for her sentry guns. I don't see any reason why I would need to get closer with Sekigahara. deliberations. Yeah. Yeah, so we just end up leaving him there. And, yeah, Yakushiji's in a pretty good spot there. Same with Takamiya. Alright, so now that next wave has come in, probably thinking about tossing down another... Oh! Anti-ground. Yeah. Yeah, so switch to the multi-rocket launcher. It's not going to be as effective against some of the shielded... Never mind. So, just due to how absurdly strong my Sentinel pilots are, that ended up working out. I wouldn't necessarily advise that for somebody on their first playthrough. It probably wouldn't go nearly as well. Okay, so now that other wave is set up here. Yeah, EMP attractor, Terra carriers, of course, because, you know, what better thing to get when you're facing against improved long-range units than Terra carriers. Yeah, now a leg spike is called for. So that takes care of that. Now it's just kind of the smaller units that are there. You can see that Apsos is actually getting ready to activate its shield. Oop, never mind. It activated its shield. So that sucks. So now those guys are going to have the ability to basically just absorb a ton of damage before actually being able to be defeated, which is mildly annoying, but it could have been worse. So like it could have activated that Apsos shield on the Terra carrier, and then it would have been spitting out more dudes without my capacity to be able to say, no, please don't. More sentry guns just covering that southeastern quadrant there, since we see a wave coming in. New wave came in, we've got an RPF, and not many ways to handle that. So yeah, multi-lock missile, why not? It gets some damage on there. Rush attack, yeah. And probably still mentally scarred from the Guardian Sentinels in the last one. The Gladiator Sentinels, my bad. From the last mission. Set of missions there, so that's probably why I did Rush Attack instead of Demolisher Blade. So I was like, nope, 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 not taking any chances. Oh, they just totally ate that missile. And you'll notice the sentry gun too, so like, all of those blasts just got completely negated. Which just sucks. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm paused in shock and awe, if you will, about how all those attacks just did jack. I'm going like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because it had been probably a solid week in between. Like when I started to replay through, because like I was making progress on editing, and then all of a sudden everything just went horribly wrong. A little bit of further deliberation there. Who knows, maybe I had to grab another cup of coffee. Yeah. Just a little different. Probably just to get her better positioned to handle either the western threat or the eastern threat on that south facing. Those guys are still coming in, and they have like 4 sentry guns firing on them, and you see all those zeros, and it's just oof. Okay, finally breaking through. So the shields do have a certain amount of health, and so if you are able to punch through, that's great, but it's basically like having a temporary chunk of HP added to every enemy in range, and that's the worst. Still has flare torpedoes on there, which, to be fair, like depending on the enemy type, and we'll see this more so later on, like those flares could actually be useful, because that would make it so that their missiles can't actually go through that. And in certain maps, you're just not able to close the distance or to get enough damage onto an enemy before they're able to fire missiles off. So it can have its uses for making sure that you can protect your Sentinel pilots. You don't want them eating missiles to the face. Generally speaking, it's not a healthy breakfast for Sentinels. Not recommended.
Still not used to this thing.
13,000 damage. I don't even know what that came from.
No fight I can't win.
I'm guessing a sentry gun? I really don't know. That just seems like an excessive amount of damage.
Number 11, moving out.
The other nice thing about having all these sentry guns is that you get all these cool laser beams everywhere. So why not put more sentry guns down?
This isn't so hard.
Okay.
So, what's my
And
next move? Okay.
yeah, Kisaragi really doesn't need to go anywhere. She's just gonna be able to tackle things kinda as is. Oh jeez. Clearly feeling slightly irate about the shields from earlier, I just told them to go home.
They felt that. We must survive.
She really doesn't have many good abilities on her right now. Aye, aye. Interceptors will help. We've got, looks like another RPF in that particular wave. Oh no, it's Terra Carrier. So, we're gonna probably leg spike that into infinity. Yep, 30,000 damage. Sayonara. Interceptor's doing strong work there, already cutting through pretty much anything that may have been able to hurt us there. Yeah, they just tore it to shreds. And poor Sekigahara's like, I contribute too? But not really, buddy. There's an RPF, finally using the plasma fusion cutter. Because I was like, I'm gonna try this bad boy out. It worked pretty well. I feel like it worked pretty well.
No chance. Okay. What's the plan?
Closing the distance with multi-lock missile. And with how few enemies there are remaining, it'll get the job done.
Termination of enemy signals confirmed. Aegis activated. Terminal closure complete. Surrounding 2-kilometer area now fully secure. Ending tactical analysis.
I never expected the Deimos would have that many missile launchers set. If other waves are going to be this missile heavy, we'll need to improve our anti-air defensive flares. The 4th generation's flare torpedoes can take out missiles as well.
Understood, Juro. I'll keep an eye on their missiles. Hey, how exactly do you know all this stuff? You sure you're not Juro Izumi in there?
I'm sure. But I know him, and I know what we're up against. Did we do it?
So yeah, while the overwhelming firepower I had was able to let me basically ignore it, the things that Juro mentions there are you know, insightful commentary. And speaking of Juro, thanks Kurabe, you were the MVP, my brosif. Yeah, so having those anti-air flares, it's nice. It basically creates a zone of defense where missiles can't get through. So like enemy units can walk through, your units can walk through, but missiles just get stopped there. Enemy missiles, yours can still go through it, thankfully. So it's a good way of kind of creating like a space that says, okay, I'll have like my ranged dudes back here, and then continue on. So for the next one we got, again, a huge amount of aerial kaiju, my favorite. And we're forced to use just 3rd and 4th generation ones, so sayonara to close range support, and to sentry guns. So probably hordes and hordes of interceptors, along with just tons of missile rain. That's what I'm anticipating. Yep, that should do the trick. Cool. Alright, let's see what happens.
Something coming from up top.
Daimo's signature's identified. Stay calm and let the Sentinel analyze it.
I know that one. It's another of those huge carriers.
No, it's similar, but we haven't seen this one. Probably a new model of the Terra Carrier.
Looks like they've got squadrons of flying weapons. Natsuno-san, get ready for anti-air combat.
Right!
Alright, so modified Terra Carriers, huzzah! And just like with the RPFs, those guys are going to basically also be manufacturing those upgraded and improved smaller units. So it definitely makes you want to focus fire on those bad boys for certain, because otherwise you will get absolutely overrun with just boatloads of stupid dudes. So yeah, what do you know? Interceptors. Lots of interceptors. Why not more interceptors? Why not, though?
Still not used to this thing. Number 21, okay? What's the plan?
So now we've got Takamiya in position, we've got Amaguchi in position, and yeah, you can see even just those smaller dudes there. A number of them are also the upgraded variety now.
Give it up. Gotta keep it together.
But multi-lock missile does work. If you throw enough at it, it'll work. Yeah, drill flies. And then Amaguchi, not even wasting EP on that, but who needs to?
We will not lose.
So we already got hordes of interceptors, so it's probably going to be a good idea to recharge our interceptor factories, if you will. Yakushiji and Goto. Poor kids. They're basically just factories to interceptors. So we still have yet to see any of the modified Terra carriers show up. So they're basically preempting us at this moment with just tons of drill flies, both regular and the modified ones. You can see how even with that first salvo of missile rain, some of the modified ones survived, but not all of them. And yeah, I think we finally got, yep, there's a Terra carrier in the back there. So thinning it out a little with the pulse lasers, and then I wouldn't be, yeah, so I take a look at what anti-air bombardment even does to remind myself. I'm like, why is it so bad on Gen 3 again? Oh, right. Because it's close range to your long range units. It's depressing. Leg spike isn't, though. Bye! That solves that problem. And the missile rain will probably be strong enough to thin out the smaller units. Yeah, exactly. So it's just weeding those guys out. We got another Terra carrier back there, if I saw correctly. Yeah, splitting up. Sadly, splitting up on the Gucci and Takamiya right there. Yeah, never mind. Bringing it back in. I guess I thought, interceptors can handle that. And convergent laser works pretty well too here, especially since they're going to be coming in that straight line. Pulse laser does some good work, trimming out some of the smaller units there. And like now, that Terra carrier is almost done. Like it's pretty close to dead. Get another modified Terra carrier up. No biggie. Yeah. Miura is just like, but what if I took out like 99% of its health? And that just leaves Amaguchi to clean it up. With a little help from our friends. So now, like, these interceptors are just going to town on that new group. As soon as they showed up, you can already see them tearing into all the small little hunter enemy types. Okay, good. I woke up from my reverie and realized that anti-ground missile is probably not the best call against flying units, and utilize the obvious missile range strategy. So I kind of must have felt like I didn't have enough interceptors there, so yeah, why not throw some more? The nice thing about the specifics for this mission is that since you are fielding so many of your Gen 4s, you do have quite a lot of mobility, and with your Gen 3s you do have a huge amount of range, but the only thing that you don't really have is kind of that built-in defensive network that you can get with the Gen 2s, like all the sentry guns, the Guardian turret types, as well as having just kind of that control, oddly enough, that I feel like the Gen 1s provide with EMP Attractor. Having that ability to kind of leap attack and then EMP Attractor is super good, and not having that in this particular encounter. You kind of feel it sometimes. You're like, oh man, that would be perfect for an EMP attractor blast. Oh, well. So instead you console yourself and go, but at least I've got a railgun. So I got that going for me. And it's just reacting to each wave as they come in, making sure to not let yourself get overwhelmed, especially with the Terra carriers being able to produce more of those units. Here I am desperately trying to leg spike this guy, and I'm like, oh, finally! Taking care of that, and then the interceptors are coming in already. Yeah, they just kind of tear through. Amaguchi with a multi-lock missile just to help clean it up a little bit. And yeah, already done. Already taken care of. Yakushiji shoring up the interceptors. Goto manufacturing some more interceptors. Just swarms of those guys. Why not? And Miura kind of illustrating another weakness, if you will, of the Gen 3s. They are slow boys. They are not fast boys. They are very slow boys. So if you need to reposition them, it's gonna take a minute, and that can be crucial, especially with these waves coming in as quickly as they are. But not to fear, our Gen 4s have this well under control. That'll pretty much wrap that up.
Termination of enemy signals confirmed. Aegis activated. Terminal closure complete. Surrounding 2-kilometer area now fully secure. Ending tactical analysis.
Aegis activated. No sign of any other Deimos signatures. Guess we've got a moment to catch our breath.
Ow! What's up? There's rubble everywhere down on the ground. I just tripped. Jeez, you're shaking like a leaf. Let me see it. Looks like a scream. I got some bandages on me. Give me your hand. Man, yours are so soft. Oh, Takamiya-san. Careful next time, okay? Whoa, what the? Why is my heart racing right now? Wait, does that mean... But I didn't think I was... I mean, what if... Whoa, what's got you all blushy? It's not like that. I'm not cheating. A-kun's the only one I need. Where the heck did that come from?
Everyone all right?
So yeah, that's kind of a mission that just really forces the player to examine their anti-air options, understand what kind of anti-air capabilities they have, especially with focusing on the Gen 3 and the Gen 4s like that. It helps to illustrate the strengths that they have in those circumstances. Also, not a bad thing to, you know, put some meta chip points into upgrading those guys there, maybe. We've got, hey, look at that, Manami being the MVP. Way to go, girl. Yeah, both of those particular waves, not super insanely challenging, just again, kind of the general theme of the second area with the modified units that we've already seen and upgraded, introducing that gladiator sentinel style kaiju. That's pretty much the biggest threat, and thankfully they so far have only had it in that one mission. So that's generous of them. So next up we're going to be concluding the second area of the destruction sequences. So we'll have the penultimate along with the final battle for this particular area. So of course that means there's going to be a boss fight. Introducing again a new concept for the destruction sequences. That being said, if you want to be aware of when that spicy commentary will be coming out, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because otherwise the internet will tell you to ignore me. like usual. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for kind of coming along on this journey through these various sequences of the game. I've still continued to enjoy it, even looking back on it now, going through and editing it. It's a phenomenal game. A lot of little great character moments and some really interesting like gameplay mechanics that I'd love to see in other titles. But for now, it's gonna be until next time. As always, take it easy.